Hi guys, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Adie.
This is Ask Mecca, your beauty questions answered by Mecca experts. One of the most common questions I get asked is, how do I color correct? So today I'm going to be demonstrating my techniques for you on the beautiful Adie. First up, I like to prep the skin. So we've already done Adie's skincare, but I'm going to add a little extra glow using the Mecca Glow Serum. And this is one of my favorite products to use to add a little bit of extra glow to the skin. So I like to use a couple of pumps and just pop this all over the face. It's going to add a really nice amount of glow and hydration to the skin. So this is going to make all the makeup that you put on top of it glide on with ease.
Feels amazing.
Looks amazing. So the first color corrector I'm going to be using is the Peach Color Corrector from Mecca Max. This particular color is really good to use to counteract any dark circles that you may get under the eyes. So on Adie, I'm just going to be popping a little bit right on the inner corner, as this is where we get the most amount of darkness.
My under eyes definitely need this right now.
I think everyone's does after the couple of years we've had. So what I'm going to be doing is blending this out using a fluffy concealer brush, I would say. So we want to focus this right on the inner corner of the eye, as this is where we get the most amount of darkness. You don't need to focus too much of it towards the outer corner. So I'm buffing it out really gently, just so we don't see any defined lines of where the color corrector starts and stops.
If I did have a little discoloration in my outer corners, where would you recommend applying this and how much?
So I would start off with a really small amount and just dabbing it where you see a little bit of darkness. These are super pigmented products, so a little bit goes a very long way. You don't want to add too much product around the delicate under eye area. The next color I'm going to be using is the lavender color from Mecca Max. So a lot of people get confused about what this color actually is used for. So basically purple is going to help to counteract any yellow discoloration in the skin or any sallowness. So I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of this through the middle of the face here, where we want to help to brighten up a little bit. I'm just going back in with that same brush that I was using and buffing this out into the skin. If you feel like you've added too much product and you can't buff it out properly, go in with your fingers. Your fingers are one of the best tools that you can use because it's going to warm the product into the skin and make it blend more seamlessly. So the last color I'm going to be using is the green color corrector. So this is probably the most popular color corrector, and it's the easiest one to work out if you look at the color wheel. So green counteracts red. So I've popped a little bit to start off with on Adie's cheeks, and I'm just going to buff this out with the larger side of my brush because we don't want too much of that green pigment showing through. You can use this on any areas of the face where you get a little bit of that flush coming through, if you have any rosacea, if you have any blemishes that have a little bit of red to them, anywhere that you want to get rid of redness.
And like you were saying, like a little bit of this goes such a long way.
Yes. So I think a lot of people tend to think that using a color corrector is adding more makeup to your skin, but that's actually not the case. So we're using more color corrector to counteract discoloration. So that means we can use less concealer and foundation. So now that we've got all of our color correcting on, I'm going to be going in with the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. This is Adie's foundation of choice for a really glowing complexion. So you may have noticed that I've been using the same brush for everything that I've applied to Adie's skin so far. So this is the Mecca Cosmetica double-ended complexion brush. It is my favorite foundation brush because you've got your concealer and your foundation in one.
It's so soft as well.
It's just the best brush. I find a buffing brush like this is the easiest way, personally, I think it's the easiest way to apply foundation because you can buff it around in circles if you want to get a really sheer coverage, or pressing it into the skin like I am right now if you want to build it up in certain areas. If we wanted to go for a really natural looking complexion, You could always go in with your fingers as well. Like I was saying before, your fingers and your hands are gonna warm the product into the skin and make it look more skin-like.
How is it sitting over the correctors?
It's actually cancelled out all of the color,
Amazing.
which is exactly what we wanted to happen. So just finishing off the foundation, and then we're gonna be going in with a little bit of concealing. So as you can see, 80s skin still looks really nice and fresh. We don't look like we have too much product on the skin.
That is my favorite. I just love when you can still see a little bit of skin through the foundation.
I love that as well. I hate makeup feeling like a mask on my skin.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect way to get that really natural looking complexion while still having the coverage. The next product I'm going to be using is the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. This is my favorite concealer to use if we want to help to cover up any other areas of the skin, but we don't want to add too much foundation all over. So this has really, really creamy texture to it, but it's also going to be a little bit more mattifying, so it's going to help to stay put all day. So what I'm going to do is apply a little bit under the eyes. So we're going to get rid of any of that peachiness that we have there from our color corrector. Again, starting in the inner corner, blending outwards. We don't need too much product around the outer corner here. Making sure that you're blending this down into the foundation as well, so we can't see where the concealer starts and stops.
It's such a good tip to not put too much around the outer corner of the eye. It's such an area of high movement, you know, you're smiling, laughing, all of that good stuff, and you just don't want it to settle there.
I feel like I used to put so much through this area and I could really notice it in photos especially. So blending this onto the cheek is going to help add that little bit of extra coverage just to make sure that we don't get any of the redness on the cheeks popping through. And I'm just going to add a tiny little bit on the chin here. So we want a little bit of extra coverage, but like I was saying, we don't want the coverage everywhere on the skin.
It's so smoothing over the breakouts as well.
This is the thing, using a matte concealer over any breakouts is going to be the best option rather than something that's too hydrating. If something's too glowy and too hydrating, it's going to draw more attention to areas of texture.
Absolutely, but this isn't too dry, this concealer, it's so soft. I like to say it's flexible.
It is. So now I'm going to be using a little bit of the Laura Mercier translucent powder on 80s skin just to minimize any extra shine throughout the day and also keep the makeup in place for a little bit longer. So I've got a little bit of the powder just in the lid of the product, and I'm twirling my brush around and really making sure that the powder is getting into the bristles. So I don't want to go in too heavy with this. We want it to still remain nice and skin-like. So I'm going to tap off any of the excess product, and I'm going in with quite a small tapered brush. So I'm using this because I don't want powder everywhere. I want to focus on spot powdering where needed. So the main areas I like to focus are under the eyes and through the middle of the face. This is where we naturally get quite a bit of oiliness or dewiness throughout the day. So it's just going to help keeping it as minimal as possible. I like to keep the rest of the skin looking really nice and fresh. So I don't want to powder everywhere because it's just going to mattify it down. So if you notice, I'm kind of pressing it into 80s skin and rolling it. This is to make sure that the product isn't just sitting on the surface of the skin, it's actually melting in with the foundation.
So is that why you worked the powder into the brush earlier?
Yes, so that way I don't have to keep going back and getting more product on my brush. I've already got it sitting in the bristles, so rolling it into the skin means it's going to, I guess, look a lot softer and we don't have too much product buildup. All right, so the last product I'm going to be using is the Rose Ink Blush. So this is a cream blush product. So a lot of the time people get confused about using a powder and then using a cream product. So I wanted to show you that you can still apply powder first and add a cream afterwards if you're very cautious about where you're applying the powder. So I didn't add any powder to Adie's face up on the cheeks here. So that way I can still go in with a cream product and it's not gonna look too drying or ball up at all. So I like to use my finger when applying a cream blush because it's going to look a little bit more natural. So I'm gonna be starting kind of on the apple of the cheek here and using the same finger just to bring the product in an upwards motion towards the temple.
So tell me about where you're applying it because it feels like it's quite high.
So I'm applying it a little bit higher to give a little bit more of a lift to the skin. I also don't want to apply it too much on the inside of your cheek, the inner part here, because that's where we cancelled out a lot of the redness. So I still want to have a really natural looking flush of colour, but in the areas that we want to have it, not where it naturally comes in the skin.
Don't want to undo all of your hard work. I feel like this product is texturally so perfect to work on top of powder too because it's so smooth, so skin-like.
It's a very natural looking blush. So really perfect for that no makeup.
Especially this colour, I love it.
And there you have it. That is how you colour correct. Thank you to the beautiful Adie for being my model today.
And thank you for this gorgeous face.
Got a beauty question? Ask us in the comments below.
Or jump on our website.
Or just come into store and have a chat to one of us.